style of decks that we've seen Aaron play a lot, this is definitely lower to the ground. Fleece Mane Lion, Blood-Soaked Champion. In the same deck, that part's a little risky, but it is a lot of 1-drops and then tricks to go with them. 3 copies of Gather Courage, 4 copies of Obzon Charm, and even a copy of Become Immense to help push the creatures through.
Well, that card's been making a name for itself recently in the hands of Tom Ross. We'll see if Barich can do it here as well. Lowry just starting off with a couple of lands there, Rugged Highlands and a Forest. That's why he's at 21. Barich is going to sacrifice a Windswept Heath. He's going down to 19. And we'll see what he's got to play. He has the ability to cast a Fleece Mane Lion and Heir of the Wilds, perhaps a Rakshasa Death Dealer as well. And he will have just the 3/3, a card that he's been casting for a while now.
Yeah, Fleece Mane Lion. Whether Naya or Obzon, this guy is a house in aggro.
Anthony Lowry, no third land. He just has to pass the turn back. It's a Windswept Heath here for Barich. He will attack for 3. Lowry's going to go down to 18. Barich has a follow-up play, and he's a Rakshasa Death Dealer. He's going to be able to continue to push his advantage here very nicely, especially if Lowry doesn't draw land, though he did pick up a mountain.
So Anthony already a little behind here. He's going to go with Courser Crufix. He does have some removal, but none of it's particularly cheap. You see he has Crater's Claws there.
Second Windswept Heath going to come down here for Barich. He's going to sacrifice both of them. So down to 17, he's going to go. He'll fish a couple lands out of his deck. We'll see if he wants a Forest and a Plains or some other combination, as there is a Plains. And this is a Forest.
He does have a copy of Obzon Charm in hand, and that can help push either of these creatures through if Anthony chooses to block one of them.
Perhaps it's time for a Rhino. Yes, it is.
Now,
oh my. Yeah, that's filthy.
That's again, you have to wonder why he did that pre-combat. So what I think is interesting, okay, what you have to respect about, I want to point out Anthony's play here. Okay, so that attack looks really strange, right? Because it looks like the Death Dealer is about to kill itself. But instead of blocking Rakshasa Death Dealer, Anthony actually, I think, correctly reads the Gather Courage and blocks Fleece Mane Lion here.
So I'm willing to bet that that's not the first time he's made that attack this weekend, and it's probably worked every time. Because as you mentioned, he has 3 copies of Gather Courage in his deck. That card's not on anyone's radar. Who are we kidding?
Well, no, but it's on Anthony's radar from that.
He made a better, right? He made a good block. He did make a good block there. I'll give you that.
Well, if you aren't thinking of Gather Courage, that block's ridiculous because you'd block the Death Dealer.
Yep. There's a Pelucranos. That's going to come down. Barich does have a land to play, and he's already reaching for mana. He's got 3 copies of Obzon Charm. Yeah, get that thing out of the way.
Yeah, that's going to exile Pelucranos. That will deal 9 to Anthony, and Aaron bringing this game to a quick conclusion.
It's funny because when we talk about players and they play certain archetypes, right? Like Tom Ross, he's just always Infect and, both Sly, and, you're very familiar with his name. You're not that familiar with Aaron Barich probably, because the only time you ever see him is on our Open Series events in Dallas. And if you happen to not watch that event or don't look at the top 8 or 16 deck lists, you're not even familiar. He always plays a deck like this.
Sometimes it's Nashville, he'll make it out to there. But yeah, you're right. It's always this kind of Naya, green-white, efficient creatures, efficient 1 and 2 drops plus tricks.
And he's always stretching his mana.
Yes.
Too, that's the other thing, because again, his 1-drops are Blood-Soaked Champion and Soldier of the Pantheon, along with Fleece Mane Lion and Rakshasa Death Dealer, so he's stretching his mana and hoping his mana comes together. It did just again, and he's always got something creative going on in his deck as well. We've seen like Advent of the Worm in decks that really don't typically play it, and other combat tricks, and now he's got 3 copies of Gather Courage, and if you're Lowry, here's the thing, you have no idea how many copies of Gather Courage to play around.
You can expect that Aaron's the kind of player who pre-ordered Mana Confluence the moment it was spoiled.
He's got, 3 of those in this deck, obviously. He's up again here with his take on Obzon Aggro over Lowry playing red-green monsters. We'll take a look at Lowry's sideboard first, which you have in front of you. A lot of 2s and 1s there.
All right, a lot of 2s and 1s. If you're on the Anthony Lowry side, you have to wonder what just happened. But his sideboard is actually really well equipped to deal with Aaron's deck. He does have 3 copies of Anger of the Gods. It's a great sweeper, especially against 1 to 2 drop aggro. He has an extra Lightning Strike. He's going to want anything that's cheap. And he has 3 copies of Hornet Nest. We saw in round 1. He's been playing those against blue-white Heroic. I have to imagine Hornet Nest will be coming here as well.
On Barich's side, he has the 4th Gather Courage in his sideboard, 2 copies of Sorin, Solemn Visitor, a Bile Blight, a Murderous Cut, 2 copies of Banishing Light, and then a couple Thoughtseizes and a couple Nixley Strands, actually 4 copies of each of those. So an interesting sideboard here to be sure. How does he do against the Monsters matchup? Well, I think Murderous Cut is probably good in the matchup. Banishing Light seems like it's okay. Not entirely sure if he wants Thoughtseize here, but just more ways to clear the road and keep attacking.
Banishing Light, Murderous Cut seem like his go-to cards.
So we'll see what he opts to change up here. Always wearing the goofy hat, of course. One of the ways that we're able to recognize him at tournaments. He's really the only one who wears that style of hat. As we will take a look here very quickly.
Is that a style of hat?
I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know what you'd call it.
I don't know where you would get one either. Hey, you're the hat guy.
No, I know. I'm just saying I don't know a name for that one. You know, you could say like bucket hat with triangle fringes and lots of colors.
So if I Google bucket hat with triangle fringes, that's what's going to come up?
I think so. That's where I'd start.
Let's take a look at that after the round. We're going to take a look right now at the rest of the 2014 Open Series schedule. We are here in Richmond right now. We're in Atlanta after this. Patrick and I will be taking care of that show. He's got the weekend off, so I hope he's staying out of trouble a little bit at least. And then, it's pretty clear. We're going to go to the West Coast after that. Portland and Seattle, and then fire it up and finish it off in Roanoke for the Players' Championship.
Remember, that is the event that the players are building toward here in the Players' Championship. That'll be 16 players from over the course of the season competing for the season championship.
We've already got 6.
Yep.
We're working our way towards 10 more. Oh, that tournament's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you guys are looking forward to watching it, because we are looking forward to casting it and watching the events unfold for Roanoke December 20th and the 21st. Someone's walking out of there with $20,000. I'll be jealous of them, that's for sure. I'm kind of jealous of Aaron Barich right now. I like this deck. I just like decks that beat
when
down.
Aaron wins games, because of the decks he plays, he just steamrolls people a lot of the time.
Yeah, he beats the crap out of him when he beats him.
Yeah.
It's like it was never in doubt. He's just like, yep, creature, crush you.
You just died. You know, you look at a game like that and you just said, boy, it was over when Anthony missed that land drop.
Yeah.
Just over.
Every deck that Aaron Barich plays, if you stumble, you likely lose. That's how his decks work. We'll see if he can trick him with Gather Courage again this game. Who knows? He does have one in his hand. Lowry's going to take a mulligan. He'll send it back.
Also playing 2 copies of Boon Satyr. And actually, one thing I like about Aaron's deck, and this is the first deck I've seen that does this, a full 4 copies of Anafenza.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that out of an Obzon deck yet.
I will say this, as far as aggressive Obzon decks go, this feels like an Anafenza deck.
Yeah, no, I bet Anafenza's very good in this deck.
Yeah. I like it. Just look at the beatdowns. The spells are nice for Obzon Charms. Obzon Charms are a great card in this deck, and the mid-range takes. All versions of Obzon it seems to be very good in. To become immense, well, I promise you, no one's playing around that. Gather Courage, I'll give Lowry some credit. He did a pretty good job against it game 1, but become immense, come on. No one's playing around that in Standard. That's not happening.
Only in Legacy.
Yeah. And only against Infect. Latimer Waste going to start things up here for Barich. Lowry's just going to play a Manic Influence and pass the turn back. Aaron has a second land. It's a Plains. Looks like he's taking 1 to play a copy of Heir of the Wilds. So he's down to 19.
If you want to build an Aaron Barich style deck, you just look through Gatherer for what are the best 1 and 2 drops at attacking, and then you go from there.
Gather Courage going to save the creature. Lowry misses his 3rd land drop again, has to pass the turn back. Barich going to play a land.
Here's the stumble, and then here's going to be Aaron capitalizing on it.
Yep, there's Boon Satyr playing that pre-combat to get the trigger from the air for Ferocious.
And once again, Anthony hits.
It's a morph. Well, we know what that is. It's an Ash Cloud Phoenix.
Morphs and Constructed have always been kind of amusing in that you almost always know what they are.
It's a mystery. Here's an attack.
What am I playing? It's Boon Satyr's going to trade with the Phoenix.
Yeah, I like this trade because he has a follow-up 3-drop. That's the big deal. He's got a copy of Anafenza in his hand. There's a land. It's like he's going to take some damage to play it, but Anafenza is going to come into play.
So I want to point out something he did with his lands here. He has, I believe, an Urborg, and he could have played that Anafenza for 1 life instead of 2. But if he'd done that, then he would have made it so Anthony's Mana Confluence didn't hurt him anymore, say to play this morph. And Aaron is keyed in enough to that he played the Pain land just so that Anthony's lands would hurt him at full value.
And he thought about it too.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. There's a Boon Satyr. It's going to be bestowed, and Anthony Lowry is conceding the game right away. That is going to do it. Aaron Barich is 7-0 here in Richmond. He doesn't waste any time beating the crap out of his opponents.
41 minutes remaining around.